Hey gang, and welcome back. These videos are brought to you by Card Conduit, the best place to sell your unused collection fast and easily. 401 Games, Canada's top shop for all your hobby and TCG needs. Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest decks. Moxfield, the easiest way to store and share your deck lists. And Foil Armor, flatten your foils fast. Arja wins the die roll and starts us off. He draws, plays Windswept Heath, and cracks it, losing 1 to find an untapped Temple Garden, losing 2 more. He then taps it for a green for Arbor Elf, and passes. My turn has me just playing a Dryad Arbor, and passing. Max's turn has him playing a Hissing Quagmire, and he ships it to Matt. Matt plays a Swamp, and pays 1 black for Tiny Bones. Arja draws, plays a Brushland, and then pays 2 for Nature's Lore. He goes to find Spar's headquarters, which puts it into play tapped, and he then untaps it with Arbor Elf, and uses it to cast a Boreal Druid. I've got a Riftstone Portal for turn, which Max teases me as a bad land since it won't go to my graveyard, and I then cast an Arcane Signet. Max plays a Command Tower, and then casts Timuret. Mechu's got a Swamp, and he hits Arja for 1 with Tiny Bones. He passes after combat. During Matt's end step, I cast Worldly Tutor to find Wood Elves and put it on top. Arja's turn has him playing a Forest, and he takes 1 from the Brushland to help cast Miss Bumbleflower. He follows her up with an Elvish Mystic, and gives Max a card with Bumbleflower's ability, and puts a counter onto her. He then casts Abundant Harvest, and chooses Max again, and Bumbleflower again. Since it's the second time Miss Bumbleflower is resolved, Arja draws 2, and he then picks land with Abundant Harvest. I play tapped Fortified Village, and then cast Wood Elves, going to find an Arctic tree line as it comes in. Max plays a Forest, and also has an Elf with a Farhaven Elf. As it comes in, he finds a Swamp, and passes. Mechu just plays a Swamp, and casts Phyrexian Arena, and ships the turn. Arja's got a Plains, and he casts Kutzel. This has Arja giving Mechu a card, and he then plays a Bloated Contaminator, giving Mechu another card, and he gets to draw 2. Arja swings the Elves which have flying at Mechu, and Miss Bumbleflower goes on the ground at Max. Max blocks with the Farhaven Elf, but Mechu takes the hit, and Arja gets to draw a card. I just draw, play a Plains, and cast Helm of the Host. Max draws for turn, and plays a Forest, and then casts Rendmaw. We all get birds, and Max then passes. Matt draws on his upkeep and loses 1 from the arena, and then draws for turn. He plays an Urborg, and he goes to combat, hitting Arja with his bird token. After that, Mechu casts Settle the Score, and targets the Contaminator, and then passes after it resolves. Arja draws for turn, and in his main phase casts Avacyn's Pilgrim, giving Mechu a card. He then casts an Overwhelming Stampede, giving Mechu another card, and drawing 2 for himself, and giving his creatures +5/+5 because of how big Miss Bumbleflower is. Going to combat, Arja swings everything at Mechu. Mechu blocks with Tiny Bones, but still drops to 2. Arja then also gets to draw a bunch of cards from Kutzel, and in his second main phase, plays a tapped Selesnya Sanctuary, and bounces a land back to hand. My turn has me drawing, and then paying to equip the Helm of the Hosts onto the Wood Elves, and I go to combat. I make a Wood Elves token, going to find a Scattered Groves, and then I'm forced to swing the bird token. I have it go at Arja since he's the biggest threat, and he takes 2, and I pass turn. Max draws and plays Valgavoth's Lair, which triggers Rendmaw and gives us all another goated bird token. He then plays Attrition. Going to combat, Max swings a bird and Rendmaw at Arja. Arja double blocks Rendmaw with Bumbleflower and Avacyn's Pilgrim. Before damage, Max uses Attrition to sacrifice his newly made bird to take out Miss Bumbleflower. Arja then takes 2 from the unblocked bird, and Max passes. Mathieu loses half of his life from Phyrexian Arena, drawing from it, and then draws for turn. He plays a Cabal Coffers, and then taps it to cast Liliana. He still has some floating mana, and uses it to cast a Scheming Symmetry, and picks Max to go tutor for a card. Mathieu then plays Drag to the Underworld, and targets Kutzel, and after that, goes to combat. He swings his 2 goaded birds at Arja for 4, and then passes turn. Arja draws, and goes straight to combat. He swings both of his bird tokens at Mathieu, who gets taken out. Arja then replays the planes he bounced to his hand, and recasts Miss Bumbleflower. He follows up with Pick Your Poison, choosing artifacts, and Max responds by sacrificing Rendmaw to Attrition, and takes a Bumbleflower again. I sacrifice my Arcane Signet, and Arja then continues, casting a Farseek and passing while searching. I draw and go to combat, making another Wood Elves token. I then swing at Arja with my birds, hitting him for 4, and then cast Trostani. I pass after that. Max's turn has him playing a Westvale Abbey, and he replays Rendmaw. We get more bird tokens, and I gain 2 off Trostani as it comes in. Going to combat, Max hits me for 2 with the birds to bring me back down to 40, and after that, he passes. Arja draws and floats all of his mana, and then casts Armageddon. My playgroups don't mind mass land destruction, but I'm aware that this isn't for everyone, so let me know if your playgroup has any problems with mass land destruction down in the comments below. He then plays an Ash Barrens, and using some of his floating mana, casts Bumbleflower again. He then casts a Free Strider Lookout. Going to combat, Arja swings his bird tokens at me for 6, which I take. I draw for turn, and go to combat, making another Wood Elves token, and going to find a land. I then swing all of my tokens at Arja, and he blocks the Wood Elves with Miss Bumbleflower, and a bird with the Lookout, but still takes 6. Afterwards, I play an Arbor Elf, and pass to Max. Max draws, and luckily has a Dryad Arbor, which triggers Rendmaw, and gives us more birds. He then goes to combat, and swings 2 of his birds at me, dealing 4. Arja draws and plays Yavimaya, and then goes to combat. He swings 4 birds at me, dealing 8, and passing turn. I've got a Forest for turn, and then move to combat, making another Wood Elves. I go and find a Temple Garden, having it come in untapped and taking 2, and then swing all of my tokens at Arja. He blocks 2 Wood Elves and a bird token, but still takes 5. In my second main phase, I decide to further complicate the game by casting a Day of Judgment. I pass after the board is wiped. Max draws, but with no land has to pass. Arja's turn has him playing a Gyre Sage, and shipping it to me after that. I've got a Forest for turn, and cast Panharmonicon. Max draws, misses another land, and has to pass. Arja's turn has him poking Max from with the Gyre Sage after he draws, and passes to me. My main phase has me casting a Timeless Witness, which as it comes in, puts Wood Elves and Worldly Tutor from my graveyard back to my hand. I then pass to Max. Max just draws, moves to discard, and passes. Arja plays a Glacial Fortress, and has to pass. My turn has me casting Wood Elves, and Panharmonicon doubles the ETB trigger, allowing me to find 2 forests. I pass after that. Max just draws, and finally finds a land with an Undergrowth Stadium. Arja plays a Destiny Spinner, which evolves the Gyre Sage as it comes in. He then casts a Darksteel Mutation on the Timeless Witness, and passes to me. At the end of turn, I cast Worldly Tutor, going to find an Ulvenwald Hydra to put on top. I draw, and cast my Ulvenwald Hydra, going to find 2 lands into play, which come in tapped, and I pass turn. Max draws, plays a Temple of Malady, and passes. Arja draws and has nothing to do, so he ships it to me. I draw, and move the Helm of the Host onto the Ulvenwald Hydra, but Arja responds by casting Rapid Hybridization to take it out. I then play a Scavenger Grounds, and follow up by casting Greater Good, wishing I'd sequenced things differently. Max just draws and goes to discard and passes. Arja's got Analyze Poison in his main phase, and collects the evidence to get a Dreamtide Whale, which he then casts. After that, he passes, and during his end step, I sacrifice the 3/3 Frog Lizard to the Greater Good, drawing 3 and discarding 3. My main phase has me moving the Helm of the Host onto the Timeless Witness, and I go to combat. I make a Witness, which gets back Day of Judgment and the Ulvenwald Hydra. I then swing the Witness token at max for 2, and after combat, I cast Day of Judgment. I wipe the board again, and pass after that. Max draws, discards, and passes. Arja plays a Temple of Mystery, scrying 1, and shipping it after that. I've got a Plains for turn, and recast Ulvenwald Hydra, getting 2 more lands. I then go to combat, and make another Witness, bringing back Worldly Tutor and Day of Judgment again. I then swing the Witness token at Arja for 2, and pass. Max draws and has to pass, with Arja casting Growth Spiral on his end step, drawing a card, and putting an island into play. Arja draws, and just passes after that. My turn has me moving the Helm of the Host onto the Hydra, and I move to combat, making a copy token, and then swinging 1 at Arja, and the real 1 at Max. This takes Arja out, and Max, knowing that I can Timeless Witness and Day of Judgment loop basically for the rest of the game, knows when he's beat, and scoops it up. Game review time. So this one was actually a little bit shorter, coming in at 44 minutes and 52 seconds, despite the fact that there were so many turns. I'll say that the MVP of this game was probably the Armageddon, in that it basically won me the game as opposed to Arja, which was his plan originally. I think had it not been for the fact that I was able to recur so much and keep making tokens to find lands, I probably would have been out of it as well. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.